Hey, Rob from Morning 42 here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a Ridley Scott movie that I've never seen before, Black Rain. Yeah, Michael Douglas, 1989, motorcycles, the Yakuza, and Kate Capshaw. Let's check it out. Black Rain, directed by Ridley Scott, is about two New York cops who get involved in a gang war between members of the Yakuza, the Japanese Mafia. They arrest one of their killers in order to escort him back to Japan. In Japan, however, he manages to escape. As they try to track him down, they get deeper and deeper into the Japanese Mafia scene, and they have to learn that they can only win by playing the game the Japanese way. The movie stars Michael Douglas, Andy Garcia, Yusaku Matsuda, Ken Takakura, and Kate Capshaw. So yeah, what to say about Black Rain? First, it was available on HBO Max, so feel free to check it out if you have HBO Max right now. This movie didn't work for me. I'm just gonna say it. It's kind of that classic late '80s style over substance kind of movie to me. And it's one of those movies that I found myself laughing at it, and not in a on purpose kind of way. It just didn't, I don't know. It just doesn't translate well to today. I guess my main takeaway from it was trying to figure out who this movie was for, because it doesn't portray really anyone in a good light. The Americans are portrayed as these vulgar, corrupt, just kind of pricks. I don't know how else to describe it. None of the Americans came off very well. And then the Japanese kind of came off as almost, I don't know, flippant and maybe a bit corrupt as well. I don't really understand who this movie was for. There are things in this movie that happen that just don't connect. Like there are times when I'm trying to figure out how this one scene connects to this scene, because I feel like I missed something. Apparently this movie was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, the original cut. It's just over 2 hours. I think it's 2 hours and 6 minutes. So maybe some of the connective tissue, that made the movie make sense. Some of that must have been taken out at some point. The thing about this movie is that I really wanted to like it. I really did, because it is beautifully shot. At least in my mind, it's got sort of that late '80s style where it's a little soft in a lot of shots, but for the most part, I think it's beautiful. It's got that Ridley Scott style, but Howard Atherton was the original cinematographer on the movie and was apparently so irritated with the Japanese, filming in Japan, and with the Japanese red tape and all the stuff that they had to do to basically fit in with the I guess the Japanese style. He couldn't take it, and he left the film. He shot most of it. And Jan de Bont, who's probably best known for directing Speed, he came in to finish the job. But like I said, I think the movie looks gorgeous, and I just wish I liked the story. One of the first things right off the bat that it was just like grating on my nerves is everybody was in New York was calling each other babe and baby and all this stuff, and it was just like, this feels forced and not natural at all. It just doesn't, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. The other thing is that I feel like, in a weird way, I don't typically like to say this actor was bad for a role or anything like that, but Michael Douglas in this role, to me, it didn't work. And he even said that this is one of his favorite movies that he's ever done, and I can see why. I mean, it was probably an amazing experience for him, but he was 44, around 44 when this movie was shot, and he just doesn't seem right for the role. I don't know. This vulgar, brash, corrupt cop, just it doesn't seem like a Michael Douglas kind of role. I don't know. Like, he's supposed to be kind of cool, and I don't know. When I look at Michael Douglas, look, I get it. If you're a Michael Douglas fan, I get it. but I just don't think cool when I think Michael Douglas. I also found it really interesting in kind of reading about the making of the movie that at the time, this movie was one of the most, if not the most expensive movie ever made up until that point. This is 1989 at $30 million. So that translates to about $65 million today, which is kind of insane that that was the most expensive movie at that time. Because if you think about it, most movies, most big blockbuster movies have no problem going over $200 million. So the idea that this really what I consider to be a smaller budget, or at least, on the lower end of movies made today, it was the most expensive movie at the time. This was the first collaboration between Ridley Scott and Hans Zimmer. And Hans Zimmer is I'm a great big fan of his. I mean, I think he's done some of the most memorable and just deep scores over the last 30 something years, apparently 32 years now, that he's been working in the Hollywood, the Hollywood scene. And it's funny because you can definitely hear some of that early Hans Zimmer kind of brilliance in some of the themes here. And I did want to bring this up about Yusaku Matsuda. He plays Sato, right? Basically the villain of the movie. And when this was being filmed, he found out that he had cancer, and he also knew that by taking this role and acting in this movie, that it would aggravate this cancer. And apparently took the role thinking, in this way I will live forever. And he died shortly after the movie came out, which to me was very sad, because he was sort of like one of the cornerstones of the movie, and he was an interesting character. But yeah, I found that to be a little bittersweet thing to find out after I watched the movie. Kate Capshaw's character, I don't really understand why she was there. It's almost like they were going for this sort of noir type story, and you kind of need this bombshell, right? But her character didn't really, I don't know, she didn't feel necessary to a lot of what happened, other than, oh, you're stuck in your investigation, go do this. And it was just I don't know, she was a strange character. She looked great, but I still was like, I don't understand why she's really here. But also Ken Takakura, I really enjoyed his character a lot. There was something in his performance that just, he's very like a heartwarming type character, very very lovable type character. And apparently he was one of the biggest stars in Japan at the time of this movie being filmed. So much so that they had to basically, kind of shove off all of these fans while they were trying to shoot. Now I don't want to bully this movie a little bit, but some of it, I think part of it really comes down to editing. Let's just watch this scene for an example. Now I have to say, in watching the movie the first time, I literally thought, so a man gets shot in the chest and that makes his bike explode. Like what is going on here? And I figured out that it's because of the way the scene was edited, because the camera focuses on the guy that's gone around this truck. And then you see a guy get shot and then an explosion. And I missed that he ran into the truck. You know what I mean? And it's just the way that it was edited was just weird. There is something that happens at the end, and I don't want to give anything away for those of you who might want to go check it out. But there is something that happens at the end. There is something given to another character. I'm just going to say that. There's something given to another character. Maybe something kind of important to the whole movie, right? To what's been driving everything. How did that character get that? There's no evidence in the movie that shows that character was even remotely close to it. So how did that even happen? And we're meant to be like, oh, and I'm like, what? No, that doesn't make sense. I think one of the things that you can really get in trouble with when you watch any movie, really, whether it's a movie that just came out or a movie that came out, years and years ago, it's to read reviews first. Because I feel like a lot of times reviews can be skewed in a way that can make you, not see not see it for what it is. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that can taint your experience and your enjoyment of a movie. So that's why I don't typically read reviews beforehand. With this one, I definitely did not read any reviews, watched the movie, and then went and I sought out my favorite reviewer of all time, right? Roger Ebert. I really dug what he said about this. And he basically said a lot of the same things that I've said to you today. It's just that there are things that just don't make sense, and it's style over substance. And unfortunately, I think that's where I land on it. Ebert gave this movie 2 stars. I think I'm going to give it 2.5 stars because, like I said, I really enjoyed watching it, just visually looking at it, which is the same thing. There's no other way to look at something other than visually. Anyway, that's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is I enjoyed watching it. So Black Rain, have you seen this movie? And if so, do you like it? Because I want to know if there are people that are huge fans of this movie because I want to hear from you. I want to hear what it is about it that you're drawn to, and that's something that, like to me, some movies gets just stuck in my head, and I love them, and I love thinking about them. I love watching them again over and over. I'm kind of curious if there are fans of this movie that are like that. And if so, yes, I would love to hear from you. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.